Stone strikes stone, and in the silence of a world without a single word, the sound rings out flat and sharp across the water. A single razor-edged flake spins away and lands point up in the wet sand, catching the low sun like a small blade someone left behind. Strike again, another, and another, the blows deliberate, aimed, repeated, the work of a mind that knows exactly what it is trying to do. Now pull the picture back and look at the hand that holds the stone. The fingers are short, the thumb is wrong, and the wrist still belongs to something that climbs. The hand is not human. It will not be human for another 300,000 centuries, and the creature crouched over this stone has a brain barely a third the size of yours. You have never met this person, and you never could, and yet, on a hungry afternoon 3.33 million years ago, she invented you anyway. Her name for tonight is Ash, and she is small, barely over a meter tall, with an ape's face, long arms, and a brain a third the size of the one reading these words. 3.33 million years ago, she lives at the green edge of a vast lake, in a world with no tools, no words we would know, and no creature anywhere yet that we would call human. Her kind are clever apes who walk upright, somewhere on the long road between the forest and us, and they survive on wits and fingers and each other. Scientists still argue over exactly who made these tools, because the bones found nearby belong to creatures like Australopithecus and a flat-faced cousin called Kenyanthropus, neither of them anything we would recognize as a person. What matters is not the name but the shock of it, that the maker was some upright ape at the very dawn of our family, hundreds of thousands of years before the first true human was born. And in front of her, laid out on the mud, is a problem she cannot solve with anything her body was born with. It is an antelope, freshly dead, brought down by some other hunter and abandoned for the moment, and inside it is enough meat to feed her whole band for a day. But the meat is locked away behind tough hide and heavy bone, and her teeth are flat, grinding teeth built for fruit and roots, useless against a carcass. Her nails are only nails. She has no claws to rip the skin, no fangs to shear the tendon, no way at all to get inside. And worse, the window is closing fast because a free carcass on an open shore does not stay unclaimed for long. Hyenas are already circling the edge of the open ground, measuring the distance to the meat, and with the same flat eyes measuring her. The lions will come down to the water at dusk and own this entire shore, and when they do, everything smaller than a lion simply leaves or dies. This is the world she lives in every single day, a place where food exists everywhere and yet stays locked out of reach, where a creature can starve to death lying right beside a mountain of meat. Her whole species sits at a hinge point, hungry and upright and clever, needing only one idea to change which side of the food it lives on. Ash has minutes, not hours, and behind her in the reeds wait the young ones and the hungry ones, all of them counting on a body she cannot open. She has stood at exactly this problem 100 times before, and most days it ends the same miserable way. The carnivores come back, and she and her band slink away into the brush with nothing, empty-handed and empty-bellied, to try their luck again tomorrow. But today Ash carries something no antelope, no hyena, and no lion on this whole shore ever accounts for, and it is not in her hands yet, it is in her head. It began, as far as we can guess, with an accident, the ordinary kind that must have happened 1,000 times before anyone truly saw it for what it was. A stone dropped onto stone, a cobble thrown at a hard nut, a rock that split just once and showed a bright new face inside itself that no hand had ever touched. And where the stone had broken, the fresh edge was thin, and thin stone does something round river rock can never do, it cuts. That is the entire secret, and it is far stranger than it sounds. Ordinary rock, dull and smoothed by the river, hides a blade inside it, and the blade only exists in the instant the stone is broken. No other animal on Earth has ever reached that idea, not even the chimpanzee, which will happily use a stone as a hammer to crack a nut and then throw the sharp fragments away. The chimp uses the stone as a fist. Ash is about to use the stone as a mother, making from it a new thing far sharper than the stone she started with. And the stone will only cooperate if it is struck at the right angle with the right force, because rock breaks along hidden lines of weakness, in smooth, curved fractures that a maker must learn to feel and predict. Most rocks will simply crumble or refuse. The trick is choosing the right stone in the first place, and Ash has clearly learned which cobbles carry a blade and which are only rubble. The mental leap here is enormous and almost entirely invisible from the outside, because nothing about it looks like thinking. She is not looking at a rock, she is looking at a blade she believes is hidden somewhere inside it, and she is planning the one exact blow that will set it free. That is imagination in its rawest form, holding, in a brain a third the size of yours, a clear picture of a thing that does not yet exist, together with a plan to bring it into being. It is the same essential act your mind performs when you sketch a house before you build it, or picture a sentence before you speak it, and here it is, flickering to life for the very first time on Earth, inside the skull of an ape. For 100 years we told ourselves that this precise leap was the thing that made us human, the tool, the blade, the plan, the moment mind first mastered matter. We swore that stone tools began with our own genus, with the first true humans clever enough to imagine an edge, and we built whole textbooks on it. We were wrong, and not by a little. We were wrong by 750 years, because the mind that first saw the blade inside the stone was not human at all. Watch closely how she does it, because the exact method is what proves this is a mind at work and not a lucky accident. She does not hold a small stone in one hand and strike it with a hammer in the other, the elegant hand-to-hand technique a skilled human will use 1,000,000 years from now. Her way is cruder and heavier. She sets a big anvil stone flat on the ground, grips a core in both hands, and swings it down hard onto the anvil to shatter a flake loose. These are not the delicate little tools you might picture, either. The cores at this lake average more than 3 kilograms apiece, the weight of a newborn child held in 2 hands. One of the anvils here weighs a full 12 kilos, as heavy as a bowling ball, a stone you would strain to lift clear of the ground with both arms. This is brute, heavy physical labor. It is the technology of someone strong and stubborn and patient, but not yet precise, still learning what the stone will and will not give. It is exactly this crudeness that tells us how old and how early it is, because 1,000,000 years later, human hands will strike a small stone against another held in midair, fast and controlled and sure. Ash cannot do that yet. Her grip, her wrist, her whole body are still those of an ape, so she does the only thing that works and pounds the stone against the ground. She swings, and the first time the core glances wrong and skids off the anvil into the mud, and nothing happens at all. She drags it back, resets it, adjusts the angle by a hair the way no instinct ever taught her, and swings again, and this time a shard splinters off, but it is too small, useless. Her knuckle catches the sharp edge of the core and splits open, and a thin bead of her blood runs down the gray stone and drips into the sand. And this, the missing, the failing, the bleeding, the trying again, is the detail that tells us the deepest truth about her. An instinct does not miss, does not bleed, does not pause to try a different angle. Instinct is not something you can be bad at, and Ash is, right now, bad at this. Which means this is a skill learned, held in memory, and worked at against repeated failure. A person doing a genuinely hard thing on purpose poorly and refusing to give up. And skill implies teaching, because a thing this hard is not reinvented from nothing by each hungry ape. Someone showed Ash, and Ash will show the young ones, and so the knowledge becomes something the band owns together, larger than any single life. The hyenas have crept a full body length closer while she works, but she does not look up. She wipes the blood on her thigh and lines the stone up one more time. And then, on some blow she could not have known would be the one, the stone finally answers her. A flake shears cleanly away exactly where she meant it to, and along one whole side of it runs an edge as thin and sharp as broken glass, an edge that did not exist a heartbeat ago. She turns it in her fingers and tests it against the ball of her thumb, and it bites. It is a blade, a real one, and she is the reason it is in the world. There is no word for what she is feeling, because there are no words at all yet, but something in her recognizes success, some quiet spark of satisfaction that we would call pride if it happened in us. She is back at the carcass before the flake has even cooled from the friction of its own making. The edge parts the tough hide in a way her teeth and nails never could. One long, clean draw of the wrist, and the body that was sealed shut a minute ago simply opens. Underneath is everything her band needs: meat to be stripped from the bone, tendon to be cut, and marrow inside the long bones that no other scavenger on this shore can reach. That marrow matters more than anyone at this lake could possibly understand, because it is dense with fat and energy, the richest food in the whole landscape, and it is locked away where only a blade can go. Meat and marrow like this, opened by sharp stone, will one day feed the slow growth of a larger brain, the very organ that, generations upon generations from now, becomes the mind of a human being. She works fast, glancing again and again at the hyenas, and then she gathers the meat into both arms and hurries it back to the safety of the reeds. She does not eat first out here alone where she could gorge unseen. She carries it home, and that small choice to share is its own kind of ancient human thing. The band eats, the young ones, the old ones, the ones who this morning were certain to go hungry, and they eat tonight only because of a plan that lived first inside one small skull. When the lions finally come down to the shore at dusk, they find only stripped bones and a dark stain in the mud, and the band is already gone up in the trees, alive. For once, the small, clever apes beat the great cats to the meat, and they did it not with claws or speed or size, but with a sharp idea made of stone. 3.33 million years later, a team of scientists will kneel in the ochre dirt of this very shore and find the wreckage of this exact afternoon. At a place they will call Lomkwi 3, on the west shore of Lake Turkana in Kenya, nearly 150 of these stones lie where they were dropped and left. And in one quiet, almost unbearable moment, a scientist will lift a struck flake, turn it, and fit it back onto the very core it came from, clicking a broken world back together across 3 million years. Think about what that refit actually proves. It means a maker sat at this precise spot, struck this precise stone, dropped both pieces and walked away, and the pieces never moved again. It is a fingerprint left in rock, not of a hand, but of a decision, the physical trace of a single afternoon of thought, preserved perfectly for longer than our whole species has existed. Ash herself does not know she has done anything at all worth remembering. To her, it was simply a hungry afternoon that happened to end with the whole band fed and safe instead of empty and afraid, the way most afternoons ended. She will do it again tomorrow, and the day after, and she will teach it to the young ones the only way she can, by letting them sit close and watch her hands. And then one ordinary day, Ash will die, and here's the part that should stop you cold. There will be no grave. No one will fold her hands or mark the spot or say a single word over her, because there are no words yet and no such customs, and there will not be for millions of years. Her body will vanish so completely that 3 million years later, we will not have recovered a single bone of the maker herself, only the stones she left and the fitted flake proving a mind once sat here. There is something almost unbearable in that imbalance, the person gone without a trace, and the idea preserved down to the exact angle of a single strike, as if the universe kept the invention and quietly discarded the inventor. But the idea does not die with her, and that is the strange, quiet immortality at the center of this whole story. The maker is erased down to nothing, and yet the idea survives everything past hand to hand, band to band, and eventually species to species, down an unbroken chain of teaching. It travels forward through the first true humans, through the fire makers, through the ones who finally walk out of Africa, through every single ancestor standing between her and you. The blade she first saw hidden inside a river cobble becomes the hand axe, then the spear, then the plow, then the engine, then the glowing screen you are watching this on right now. Every made thing in your entire world is a descendant of that one afternoon, when someone who was not us looked at a dull gray stone and refused to accept that it was only a stone. Try for a moment to feel the size of the gap she reached across, because 3.33 million years is a span the mind simply cannot hold, a number that turns instantly into a blur. Every king and every empire you have ever heard of, every war, every city, every word ever written, all of it fits inside the final blink of the time between her hands and yours. She was not human, her brain was a third the size of yours. She has no name, no face, and no grave, and we invented Ash tonight only so you would have someone to picture. But 3.33 million years ago, at the edge of a lake in Kenya, someone who was not yet us picked up an ordinary river stone and saw the blade waiting inside it. And that idea has been walking toward you, patiently hand to hand, mind to mind, across 3.33 million years ever since.